Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 259, your weekly little get-together. We talk about recent gaming news. I'm, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, MLB The Show joins the Xbox consoles. That's said really weird. I don't know why I said that way, but you guys get the point. Activision's abusing the DMCA, and Alan Wake 2 rumors are starting to heat up once more. But first, I want everyone here to know that this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over at twitch.tv/GamePoints, or later over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC, to feel free to join in the conversation with any questions, comments, concerns, etc. you might have. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand.
Can you take a breath after that one, man? You're rattling it today.
Hey, what can I say? You know what it is I'm actually stuffed up from allergies, and I was afraid that I was going to sneeze or something midway through. So I just wanted to get it through as quick as I could. Let's see. Go ahead and go right into things here. Stealthy Twitchy in chat saying, following up on David's assertion last week with regards to the impact of crypto mining on the environment, new scientists recently reported the following. Okay, I'll read this, but it is a little bit off topic. Because we did mention it a little bit on show.
We don't have a topic yet, so technically.
According to researchers in Beijing, China, total carbon footprint of Bitcoin mining in the country will peak in 2024, releasing around 130 metric tons of carbon. This figure exceeds the annual carbon emissions of countries including Italy and Czech Republic. By 2024, Bitcoin mining in China will require 297 terawatt hours of energy and account for approximately 5.4% of the carbon emissions generated in the electricity in the country. Researchers predict the emissions, looks like the chat go off. I think we get the idea, though. That's China. China doesn't care. That's the long and the short of it. China is not going to care. But thank you for finding that information, by the way, Stealthy Twitch. I do appreciate it. David.
Yes.
Here's the rest of it. The researchers predicted the emissions peak in China in 2024 based on calculations of when the overall cost of mining, the investment in computer equipment, and the electricity costs outweighs the financial rewards of selling mined Bitcoin.
So it's a double whammy. That's both the peak emissions and when, hopefully, ideally, it'll start to taper, and maybe I'll be able to buy a graphics card.
Maybe. Hey, we'll see about that. I think the semiconductor shortage is bigger than just crypto mining. I think crypto mining is a convenient scapegoat, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of it being driven by that, but everything is driving semiconductors. And I think the crypto market is a small part of that, but it's an easy target because it's like a nerd thing.
I mean, we can't just blame iPhones for everything.
Yeah, true. I can. And I think I could probably get away with it.
But yeah, thanks for looking that up.
I do appreciate that. Thank you. David.
Yes.
Back to on hand. That was just the first time we actually had something following up on last week's show. So I figured, hell, let's mention that. What have you been playing? I know you've been playing a lot of Outriders. How are you enjoying that?
I have been playing a lot of Outriders. We had talked about the fact that I was excited to play it because it was going to be on Xbox Game Pass. And if you were following along at home, found out, unfortunately, that it is exclusive to the Xbox console on Game Pass. And interestingly enough, the streaming version, like the xCloud equivalent. So you can play Outriders on your phone if you have Game Pass, but not on your PC because they still have separate ecosystems for whatever reason.
I don't want to say it's necessarily dumb. I get it. They probably have agreements in place with like Epic and Steam that said they can't make it exclusive to this or something like that.
Yeah, well, and that's part of the problem is that it's not completely on Microsoft, but it's also not completely on Square Enix. It's a little bit of both, and I don't know. Anyway, long and short of it, not on PC. Started playing on Xbox. Thought it was a lot of fun. Thought it was a lot of fun. And I did the thing that I very rarely do, my friend. I bought a new video game.
You actually bought Outriders.
I've purchased Outriders. I think that game is fun as shit. And I've figured out why. If you recall, a while ago, I played a game that I quite enjoyed called Remnant from the Ashes.
I was about to say Go on.
I always said it punched way above its weight and was way better than it had any right to be. Loved that game. Guess what that team made?
Oh, is it the same team?
Yes.
People Can Fly?
People Can Fly made Outriders, dog.
I knew People Can Fly made Outriders. I didn't know People Can Fly made Remnant from the Ashes.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know that. That explains a lot, and that game really does feel a lot like Remnant from the Ashes.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing is that I keep getting all these comparisons. Like people are like, "Oh, it's like Destiny, it's like Division, it's
I
like
get a lot
this,
of
that, and the other
Division
thing."
from it as well.
Um, but I was like, this hits something else, and I think it was somewhere in like the vaulting mechanic that I kind of got that tinge. And yeah, dude, it's Remnant. It's the MMO, or not the MMO, but it's the multiplayer version of Remnant that has a bitter story, and it's a full video game instead of the $30 release that we got
I
last time.
believe People Can Fly, and I could be wrong on this, so please verify this. But I believe People Can Fly also did some work on a bit of the Gears of War series. So that would be why it has some of those cover mechanics, like the snap to cover, the vaulting over, and everything like that.
Gears of War Judgment.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. It really does feel a lot like Remnant. I didn't piece that together until you started talking, but yeah, once you started leading up to that, it suddenly clicked on me exactly why you
Yeah,
it.
that's the biggest thing to me is like, and what's funny is someone could double check this because I didn't actually bother to Google it. It feels like Remnant to me.
And then you looked it up, and sure enough, it is. I played about 4 hours of it myself. Made a technomancer called Chenandler Bong.
You would.
And I was kind of into it, but it just... I don't know. Just something about it wasn't necessarily clicking with me, which is weird, because I actually did like Remnant.
Mm-hmm.
But something about this specifically, I think it's because I got back into Destiny again. So anytime I play any kind of like loot shooter, a term I hate, but anything that has those similar mechanics, I inevitably start comparing it to the gameplay of Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And Destiny's gameplay is just so tight and well done for me. But I will say a couple things that I do take issue with it just on its own merit. One, the boss fights in that game are clearly scaled for 3 people, like they were in Remnant. So that does me no good at all. Because because by the time I'm going to be able to get a time to actually play with other people,
I'm going to be asleep.
not only that, but everyone's going to be done with the game and moved on.
Mm.
Because our specific group of people that we know get really heavy into something for 4 weeks, if that, and then just never touch it again.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we talk about the fact that I have game ADD, so.
Yeah. Hey there, Softy Frank. How you doing? But what I really like about Outriders, though, is not just the lore behind it. I really appreciated the world they crafted, but they actually... There are many games out there that describe the end of the world. It's like, we're fleeing from Earth for something. Here, they actually get into the details. It's the same thing Horizon Zero Dawn did. They get into the details on what was happening on Earth and a lot of the notes. So it's not just Earth was destroyed, but I know what happened to it.
I think the part that struck me so early in the game is that it's dark as hell. The tone is way darker than I expected.
Yeah.
And I like it. It's great.
Which brings me up to another kind of gripe. While the tone is dark, and I appreciate that, the main character is like a Josh Whedon dude bro kind of asshole. And he is just pure snark 100% of the time when I was playing it.
That's
and
fair.
That seemed... While I don't necessarily mind that kind of character archetype, I mean, like Nathan Drake, for example, I like, it so clashes with the other tone of the game that's going on. He feels like he is in a different game than what's being played. Now, if you have... I don't want to go into any spoiler territory or anything like that, but if you found yourself in the position that he finds himself, and you've been doing that for, like, say, a couple weeks, okay, sure, I can get why you might start getting the arrogance about you. But he literally just, like, wakes up again, and then he's immediately like, okay, nothing's going to faze me. It's like, there's some disconnect in the storytelling here. There's no what the fuck is going on? What happened? And he just kind of goes, oh, okay.
I give the game a pass because they're so far just letting me set everyone on fire, and I'm having a great time with that.
Yeah, the game is fun. I feel
the powers feel super cool. I like the skill trees.
Mm-hmm.
The automatic shotgun that you can get in that game is one of the most satisfying guns to shoot.
It's essentially an SMG that's a shotgun. No wonder why you love it.
So good.
The weapons do feel decently, like, you feel powerful, which is what I'm looking for in there. Hey there, Vivu, how you doing as well? Good to have you as well. But yeah, Outriders, definitely enjoyed my time with it, but I don't think I'm going back to it anytime soon because it's really dependent on having a group of people. While you could do it single player, that first boss fight that I did against Electro Man, Dynamo from The Running Man, that was real annoying to do single player, even turning the world tier down that I was at. And I was doing it. And when you realize like the interrupted time and everything like that, it was just like, okay, this is clearly meant to be done with
It's
more
definitely
than just one person.
built for multiplayer as opposed to solo, not just because of like that, but the way the powers can stack and what you can do with combined abilities is just, it's crazy.
I feel like I'm missing out because I'm not playing with other people, and that is a drag. But if I were to be playing with other people, I think that game would excel. And yes, I know there's like random lobbies you can join and everything like that. And I do appreciate that that's in there, but that's not what I want from a game like that. If I'm going to play multiplayer, I want to be with people that I know on Discord and go from there.
And it's definitely not perfect. I don't even...
It feels budget to some degree.
I did buy the game, but I don't know that I would even recommend buying the game for full price, which I know is a ridiculous statement, but hey, you know.
It definitely, it also benefits from the fact that nothing else is out right now. And I mean, nothing else is out right now. Let's see. Something Frank for chat says, I feel like that's a game not fun without friends. I'm sorry, let me read that again. I feel like a game that's not fun without friends isn't a fun game. While I appreciate that sentiment, I would say things like Vermintide, Left 4 Dead, the upcoming Back 4 Blood, that genre of game is definitely something that I hate playing alone, but I love playing with other people.
And that kind of goes back to the you like playing games by yourself, I like playing games with people thing. So for me, there's not a lot of single player games that I'll sit down and spend my time with. So, like, playing with people is my default state, so I don't necessarily notice if things aren't as fun by myself, because I don't find really any games fun by myself.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Speaking of games that you play by yourself, even though you can do this one on your own, I don't know if you would be playing this or not, given the Switch's interesting architecture.
Oh. You're talking my other great love?
Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise. How's that working out for you?
I am not playing that game even a little bit.
Why not?
Because Monster Hunter World released on PC, and I'm not going back. I can't go back to the little screen. I'm aware of the fact that you can plug a Switch into a TV, but I don't pay for Nintendo Online because I will get zero use out of it. I am definitely not going to try and play Monster Hunter Online on the Switch because that doesn't sound satisfying to me. It sounds like trying to play the old PSP Monster Hunters using like a fake LAN internet connection. It's just not the same. Now that I've seen how polished that franchise can be released on, I'll say it, a proper console and PC.
That is something about Monster Hunter World that I think is going to drive some other Monster Hunter fans nuts, is because it made it more accessible to a lot more people.
And they've taken a lot of cues from Monster Hunter World, and I know people that are playing it are loving it, and that it feels great, and then it's got some nice some of the quality of life stuff made it over.
Okay.
So there's that. I don't want to play it on the little screen. And the fact that I know that it's coming to PC. That's not a rumor that we were going to get it in a year. And I double dipped for Monster Hunter World on PS4 and PC.
You ain't doing that again.
And I can't, because I didn't have as much fun finally being able to play with the people that I knew that only had a PC. I'm like, oh man, I've been waiting to show you guys this game forever. And then I was just like, I don't want to do this.
You've already done all this. And now that's the curse of a game like that, because the game like that rewards constantly getting new stuff. If you're starting from the beginning, you've just lost everything. There's no benefit to starting over again. It's not like you get to experience a grand story over again or anything like that. Let's face it, Monster Hunter World,
I mean, the story's still in there, but
there's much story to it.
The Monster Hunter, at least with World, works with the story content is that you can't just join a party and then go through all of the story content together. It's, no, I need to play my story content until I get to this cutscene, which will then allow other people who have already seen that cutscene to join me. So it's like you're all going out for a solo adventure, so you can all quit out to go to the hub so that you can actually go and do the mission together.
Right.
It's just not the best.
Vavu in chat mentions that they pay for Nintendo Online to play Super Mario World. That Super Nintendo Classic thing that the Switch has, where you can have access to old video games, a couple of the oldest games. That's a conversation I want to get into another time when it becomes prevalent. Again, when we have a reason to bring it up. But I've got some very... It's bullshit.
I was waiting for you to say anything about it so I can say it sucks. I'm not paying Nintendo $20 a year to play a game that I own 600 times.
Yeah, and it's limited. I don't want to get too deep into it right now, but while I appreciate people who want to buy that stuff and have access to it, their drip feed of content is offensive to me, considering how many games that they can draw on and how easy it can be, and they don't even update it monthly. It's like quarterly with 3 games at most.
I mean, maybe this almost ties into last episode, but maybe we need to have like a special episode just talking about game like preservation again.
Maybe.
And the fact that I'm not going to get into a whole big thing, but Nintendo's screwing up, Sony's screwing up. The only one who's doing a good job is Xbox, of all people.
And speaking of Xbox, let's move on to the first news story of the week. Kind of a... I don't want to say surprising, because I swear this was happening already, but everyone seems so shocked by it. But let's move on into it.
This specific part of it, I think, is news.
Okay. MLB The Show 21 is coming to Xbox Game Pass on day 1.
See, those last 3 words is the big deal.
It's the day 1 thing? Okay.
The day 1 thing. So... MLB The Show 21, we had reported on earlier, was it this year, I think, that the MLB actual like franchise had been pushing Sony that it could no longer be a console exclusive because they want to make all of the money.
Right. MLB didn't want it to be trapped on one console, more or less said either you can work with us and get this game to other systems, or we think about pulling the license or something like that.
Yeah.
And Sony didn't want that to go. Good night, by the way, Fubu. Thanks for dropping by. From the blog post itself, we're delighted to announce that MLB The Show 21 is coming to Games Pass on day 1 and will be available on April 20th for the Xboxes, as well as on Android phones and tablets via Xbox Cloud Gaming for Ultimate members. Once again, the reason why this is so interesting is because MLB The Show is created by San Diego Studio. That is a Sony first-party studio. Sony owns them.
Yep.
So we are in that. We're starting to get those situations where platform holders are making games and they're showing up on other consoles. This started with Microsoft buying Mojang and then putting Minecraft on other consoles. Now we have MLB The Show made by Sony showing up on Xbox. Those walls are starting to come down more and more and more.
Shout out to Salty Frank. You could say this is a home run for Xbox gamers.
I guess.
Come on, dude. Laugh at the baseball funny. Idiot. Anyway,
it's the Game Pass thing, though. That you're right. I think that's what is really selling this is the fact that...
So here's the thing. I've heard rumors that when you boot up MLB The Show 21 on your Xbox, you know whose logo you see first? Because it sure as fuck isn't Sony's.
Is it going to be Microsoft, or is it going to be San Diego Studio?
Microsoft, then Sony, then San Diego.
I want to see what that boot screen looks like. That's going to be a very interesting boot screen.
Is the scuttlebutt I've heard. But I think the reason that I wanted to talk about this, though, is seriously, what the fuck does Jim Ryan even do? How do you walk into a boardroom where you're saying, yes, our game has to go on other consoles, and you don't negotiate like at least a fucking 90 days this can't be on Game Pass?
Yeah, because we've talked about this before with goddamn what game Bethesda
I could see this launching on Xbox at the same time it launches on PlayStation.
But not
that makes tons of sense.
Game Pass.
But day 1 on Game Pass, where you can pay $10 a month or whatever for a Game Pass subscription, and you can play MLB The Show day 1 on your Xbox, or if you're a longtime Sony fanatic, you can pay, you guessed it, $70, because this is not a $60 price release. This is a $70 game.
It's the Bethesda conversation all over again. This looks so bad for PlayStation. Doubly so because it's one of their own goddamn franchises.
Yeah.
There's no way that Sony wanted this. I think you're right about the Jim Ryan thing. How does he not somehow make... I mean, I know he might be so far removed from it, he might not be particular of the details on here, but how does Sony not at least ink it something in there?
I don't know. At this point, he's done enough dumb shit that any dumb shit that happens to Sony, I'm just putting squarely on him.
Jim Ryan at Sony is the... oh my god, who was the previous Xbox guy? I can't remember his name. Before Phil Spencer.
Yeah, I was going to say, not Phil Spencer.
Oh, there was a guy before Phil Spencer, and I can't remember his name now, and I know off the top of my head, but he, like, fucked up constantly with Xbox. That's what Jim Ryan's doing right now over at Sony. When you have the guy coming out talking about, like, essentially old game is old, we don't want that, he essentially... You remember how we were theorizing there was, like, a civil war at Sony between the Japanese and the Western branches, and the Western branches won, which is why you have people like Shuei Yoshida in a reduced role and all that now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jim Ryan came in with his crew and just kind of fucked everything up. And this is why Sony now doesn't feel like PlayStation 4 Sony with the good old times. It feels like the PlayStation 3 Sony when they did the $6.99. You'll have a second job to buy.
You'll get another job to buy our console.
They're back to that again. They are back to that again, and it's a problem because when it comes to consoles, both you and I are Sony people. Mm-hmm. And So I don't want anyone out there thinking, Xbox fanboys. I don't have any plans on buying the new Xbox.
Well, and see, that's the crazy thing is I've been a self-proclaimed Sony whore since 1996. And this specific console generation, I'm finally paying attention to Microsoft and saying, you know what? They actually have some good ideas. And I really wish that Sony would treat their fans this way.
Yeah, Microsoft actually has a positive PR spin on things right now. Sony is just losing, in my opinion. But we mentioned this before these consoles even launched, that we felt the upcoming Sony hubris before these things even dropped, and that Microsoft was in a great spot to get some good damn PR. And that's exactly what happened. What they've been doing for the past year. They're doing what Nintendo don't right now. I don't know what Nintendo has to do with this conversation there, David.
It's the old Sega Nintendo.
I know. It
does what Nintendo don't. But, you know.
I'm busting balls today, David. There will be no humor on this show.
There's not a good PlayStation don't pun word, unless you guys can think of one and tell me.
Such break for chat. Isn't it funny how Xbox and Sony go back and forth between generations, fucking up the different degrees? It's the hubris thing. That's why I specifically use the term hubris. Because one of them goes, we're on top, we can't be dethroned, we don't have to work for it anymore, and the other side gets really hungry for it. And now
or it's like just the balance of the bosses, right? Oh, this guy kind of sucks. We got rid of him. We got a new guy. Hey, all of a sudden we're on top, but the other guys, they got a shitty guy now, and then he gets a new guy. We'll see.
Speaking of things that suck, let's go ahead and move on to this next topic here. This has the potential, I think, of lighting you off more than me, though I hate it too. This is via Forbes. Activision is blocking coverage of Warzone 1980s map leak with ridiculous DMCA strong-arming. This is from Eric Kane over at Forbes, so take a look at that. Of course, all links will be provided down in the description below. From the article, a leaked version of Warzone's Verdunk's map appeared on the internet last night. It's a 1980s overhaul of the map, bringing more in line with Call of Duty's Black Ops Cold War. Footage of the map appeared in a leaked ad on social media, showing Verdunks as it was decades ago, with many of its structures still under construction. Leaks are neither new nor well, and certainly not worthy of a big crackdown on people who post them online. But that's exactly what Activision has chosen to do. Charlie Intel includes no images or footage of the leak on its post on the matter, writing, quote, "We are unable to show you any images or videos from the leak of this article because of DMCA notice from Activision. This account that originally posted the video is also deleted because of a DMCA request. Other reporters and websites have had their Twitter accounts locked by Twitter after Activision DMCA'd them, including Video Game Chronicle's official Twitter page, which was suspended for a time." Don't fucking abuse the DMCA because you have a shitty culture that can't keep secrets.
Activision? I mean, we can go into the fuck Activision spiel in a minute, but Activision has never heard of Barbra Streisand.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's hilarious to me.
I hate this shit so much. It's up there with like the Naughty Dog thing when Naughty Dog was going around DMCing people for talking about the story. It's a fucking topic of conversation in the gaming news space. You don't get to just DMCA shit into oblivion. It doesn't work.
One, you can't, and for the unaware, if you don't know what I'm talking about with the Barbra Streisand thing, there's a thing called the Streisand effect.
Yep.
Where if you try and get something deleted off of the internet, it will instead become far more readily accessible. Because the one thing that the internet loves to do is piss off other people.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
If you have something that you don't want everywhere, don't say anything.
The Call of Duty Warzone leak wouldn't have even been a topic on this show if it wasn't for DMCA.
Yeah.
The DMCA abuse,
because this would be something that would have showed up on like some forums and a blog post and a couple tweets.
People would have talked about it. It would have been written up in like IGN and Polygon and places like that. But now that this DMCA thing's gone around, I sure as fuck am going to talk about it. It's going to be yet another thing to hammer Activision Blizzard on. By the way, Taiwan exists. Don't ever forget what they fucking did to the Hong Kong protests by shutting down any discussion on them. And J. Allen Brack from Blizzard never apologized. Because we're talking about that company. I will bring that up every single goddamn time.
Yep. Blizzard did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong. I absolutely am tired of the DMCA abuse because that's not what it was there for. And is there anything that can be done to push back against it? Can you like sue them for wrongful takedown of the channel or anything like that? Can anything be done to prevent a company from abusing the DMCA on a legal level? And furthermore, can we finally just get rid of the DMCA and put in something better?
Yeah, and that's again the classic problem that we've talked about a million other times, where the like law in regards to the internet just isn't there.
No, it
hasn't caught up, and it's probably not going to catch up anytime soon.
The way this thing was written, it is so horrible, and that's they know they can do this. And I'm legitimately asking the question: is there any way to push back on this? And I know that's a separate question from can you push back on it, because just because you can say countersue over DMCA stuff, Activision has so much more money than Video Game Chronicle. They could like just bury them in lawsuits. God damn, I hate this so much. Do you want to add anything to this at all? Do you have anything to say? I know I was going to kind of let you take the lead on this, but then I just decided to go all over.
It's just a shitty situation. It's Activision like abusing a power that they really shouldn't have, and I get the Salty Frank made the argument any publicity is good publicity, so maybe they're trying to get more interest. But this is games news, right? If you want interest in your game, you just give it to fucking everybody, or you hand it to a Twitch streamer,
or like, you do what other
shutting
companies.
Down people's Twitter accounts is definitely the wrong kind of publicity, because it means that you're a shit company and I don't really want to support you.
How many instances do we have over the past few years where something leaks and a company goes, "Oh well, shit, that sucks," but hey, this is actually coming, and they just pushed forward their PR time?
Or they could just do the classic thing and categorically deny it. Oh, that was an artist render.
I don't know about categorically denying things, but just go. We don't comment on rumors and speculation.
Yeah.
No comment. Don't say anything.
I don't know. I kind of liked for that little period of time where they would just double down on that's not true. That's definitely not true. That's super not true. And then here's the release.
Give them the whole David Jaffe thing where he's literally asked like 24 hours before. I think he was asked. It was an E3 a while back, but he was asked, so about this new Twisted Metal game. He goes, there's no Twisted Metal game. And then the next day at E3, he rolls out in the giant Sweet Tooth ice cream truck. And he's like, Twisted Metal. It's like, you son of a bitch. Don't lie. Just say, I can't comment on that.
Although nothing is ever going to top the flipping, funnily enough, the Bethesda thing, where Walmart leaked a bunch of video games, and like the Rage Twitter account was like, hey guys, that's the wrong logo. And then all of a sudden, Rage 2 was confirmed.
See, they handled that classy, though.
Yeah, that was great. That
They're
made
just
me
like,
actually excited for that game. Because
the cat's out of the bag. Once you can't unring the fucking bell. It's out there. Adapt. I hate that shit so much. And I don't... Is this one of those cases where their lawyer team is just not talking to anyone else and they have like one job? Is it like the left hand not talking to the right? Because there's got to be someone on their PR staff that's screaming right now, what did you do?
Yeah, you'd think there'd be someone. who's saying this. Hey guys, this is a bad look. This is bad. This is bad optics.
Yeah. Anyways, let us know what you guys think about the Activision bullshit, for lack of a better word that I can't think of. I'm so annoyed at them right now, and I want to keep yelling and screaming over it, but there's nothing that's going to change from it, and this is just... I am just so done with Activision Blizzard as just a company in general. Like, at least EA has gone relatively silent over the past few years when it came to shit that pissed me off. But well, they keep poking the bear.
I can settle you down. I can talk to you about something completely different that has nothing to do with Activision.
Okay.
Specifically. In a release, E3 is back this year in a digital form from June 12th to 15th.
So did you, before you go on, did you feel like you missed E3 last year?
I forgot we didn't have E3 last year.
Fair enough.
I thought last year's E3 was the one where all the info got leaked.
So while that was 2019, I believe.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like,
it just didn't exist.
I didn't notice it.
I don't necessarily think I missed E3, but I did miss here is a small window of time where we're just going to hammer you with game announcements. It doesn't have to be E3.
Yes. I do remember that feeling of, wow, the Summer Game Fest was neat for that first 3 weeks. Into the second month, I was like, man, I am not paying attention to any of this shit anymore.
Not only that, but it was really just padded to begin with, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I get what good old Jeff Keighley there was trying to do. We both love Jeff Keighley on this show, I think. I know, I appreciate that, man. But he took 3 days of announcements, all immediately 3 crowded days of announcements, and spaced it over 3 months, and that was way too long.
Too much.
It really did highlight that we need a hub where we just, like, small hubs of 2 or 3 days every 6 months or so. We just dump a shit ton of information and people just kind of go through it.
Yep. I mean, I think at some point there was like a fan website that was put up that was just everything announced at Summer Games Fest, and that's all I would look at. I wouldn't go to any of the official stuff anymore.
Yeah, there's like that E3recap.com site.
Yep. It was that kind of equivalent for the Summer Games thing. Anyway, back to E3. So the show will be free for all to attend, although you and I have both heard rumors of some sort of paywall around it, where either you're paying to get access to additional content or some kind of premium experience or something, but E3 is denying it. But we'll see.
We'll see how that shakes out. That's E3 is denying it, but I also know how companies work in that they'll say, no, E3 is free for everyone. But if you want this extra bit, it's going to be pay. So they're not... Mm-hmm. I don't trust the ESA and E3 to not have some kind of pay on it because they're so desperate to retool this into a show that can make money for them.
Yeah. Anyway, the ESA is planning for several 2-hour keynote sessions from its partners, including a preview night, streams from publishers, media, influencers, and an award show. Showing up to the conference thus far, Xbox, Nintendo coming back. Look at that. Turns out if it's all digital, they can just move their direct over. Ubisoft, Take-Two, WB, Koch Media, and Konami are all currently listed on the show. You may notice that Sony, Activision, EA, and Square Enix are not on that list.
Right. I'm actually surprised Xbox, Microsoft is coming to it. You'll know they'll bring all their Bethesda stuff as well. I am shocked Nintendo is going to be doing something for it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was anything less or anything more than just here is a 30-minute to 40-minute direct that we're going to run sometime during then.
Yeah, and I feel like for them, that's an easy decision because they already have the directs. This is just putting their normal show in front of more eyes, basically.
Ubisoft, no surprise. They always do the 3-hour show that really only needs to be an hour and a half long.
Because we already know everything that they're going to show.
Koch Media.
Yep.
That I think they've actually gotten big enough to where they can get away with running a proper conference along the same lines of Ubisoft or what used to be EA, Activision, etc. Now, just because Sony, Activision, EA, Square Enix, and all those guys aren't doing anything for E3 doesn't mean they're not going to have their own shit going down at the same time.
Yep. They can also still technically show up at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could probably lock at this point though. If it's in June, April, May, June, that's like two months away. You need to be locked in for it now because planning of the show is happening right now. But what they could do is that thing that we see at if you go to like any kind of nerd convention or gaming convention. So think PAX, Comic-Con, GDC. You have your event. But you'll have a bunch of like smaller events off-site. GDC
that
does
are
this,
technically not the main event. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what didn't EA do that forever, where they weren't actually in E3; they were across the street.
I don't know if they had a floor presence at EA, but I think Sony completely left them. It's been 2 years since they had a physical show, so now my money's all fuzzy. But you see this at GDC a lot, where you have the GDC building and they have like a big event going on and you get paid to get into it. But if you're a small-time developer and you don't want any part of that, you just go, hey, I'm holding previews in this hotel room across the street. And while you have everyone there, they show up. You can walk across the street, go to that hotel room, and you can kind of cash in on GDC happening.
Yeah.
That's what I expect Sony...
Without spending the money to be on the floor.
Yeah. That's what I expect Sony, Activision, EA, etc. to be doing. There's going to be this big show going on July 12th to the 15th. They can have their not E3 presentation coinciding with those days and not pay the ESA a goddamn red cent, and they get away with it because it's not like you can't just post a video on YouTube and have the ESA go, no, that's our time. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's
get out of here. So I get why I that's why I'm shocked Microsoft. That's why I'm shocked all these other people are actually showing up to it. Because if it's going to be digital only, why won't you just keep spending the 6 figures it takes to get under the ESA banner and just do your own shit and save that money?
I feel like they're probably not spending nearly as much as they normally would. And that's why they're showing up.
That could be it. That very well could be it. I don't know. But as you and I both know, or we've talked about anyways, I don't know if it's still the case, E3 is one of the biggest fundraisers the ESA has. Mm-hmm. The ESA, if you don't know, is the lobbying firm that goes to Congress to try to make sure legislation harmful or beneficial to the games industry gets prevented or passed, depending on what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
So it is an important body for people's pocketbooks, but I don't. It just still feels like a relic. I simultaneously want there to be an E3 like show, while recognizing the fact that that is such a thing of the past. It's like nostalgia for
you want the equivalent of E3, but you don't want E3 anymore.
Right. It's like wishing for a Blockbuster or a Hollywood Video to still exist. You kind of want one to still be around, but you know you're never going to go to it because it's just so much easier to get it online these days.
That's fair.
It's the same thing.
So even with this announcement, this is not affecting Keighley Summer Games Fest, which is still going on this year. One thing that'll be interesting, though, is to see how much stuff is revealed at E3 and how much, if anything, is saved for Summer Game Fest.
Right, and Keighley and the ESA, Keighley for years was helping do things at E3, but they parted ways, and it did not seem to be all that amicable.
Yeah, well, because now they're going to be competition, more or less.
Yeah. So let us know what you guys think about this future E3. Is E3 ever going to have a physical presence again? Or is this what they're going to be? Is this going to take it off? Or is this going to be like the last E3 ever in digital form? We will see. David, I'm somewhat excited about this because this is one of those things that I love. And I've been waiting for this for a while. And while it's still technically a rumor, it has some credence behind it. This is via The Gamer. Alan Wake 2, rumored to be in development with Epic Games as the publisher. To the article. It's been revealed that Remedy is rumored to be working on a sequel to horror title Alan Wake with Epic Games named after its publisher. This comes from industry insider Jeff Grubb, who revealed news on his Twitch show. By the way, this also fits with Sam Lake, who works at Remedy, saying he's writing a new script on the new game coming out. And my own sources grumbling that Remedy was shopping around for a publisher. Back to the article. Grubb talked to Epic's recent shift in attitude toward exclusivity, explaining that Epic is starting to fund the development of games instead of buying exclusive rights later down the line. He then revealed that one such developer that Epic is working with is Remedy Entertainment. In regards to what the two are working on, Grubbs claims that Remedy is currently developing Alan Wake 2 and states that it's going to be, quote, the follow-up fans of the series want, end quote. Grub also claims that Epic entered a bidding war with several other publishers. As an aside, talking about what I was hearing that Remedy was in talks to get bought by someone, and
Oh,
that
wow.
many people were throwing money at them to see what would stick. But my source was unsure on what the exact details was, so it sounds like it might have been what they were talking about here, and it was just a publishing deal rather than getting bought out. But it
Gotcha.
kind of, things are kind of lining up to what I have heard on like a source that I can't reveal. Back to this. But Epic came away with publishing rights after putting down the best deal. The information Grub also reveals lines up with a report from Games Industry earlier this month, which claimed that Remedy has 5 games in development, 2 of them set in the same universe and are being developed with the help of Epic Games. By the way, you have to assume those 2 in the same universe are Control 2 and Alan Wake 2, since that has been confirmed to be a shared universe at this point. In fact, DLC for Control straight up has the character of Alan Wake, the Dark Presidents, the Cauldron Lake, and all that in it.
There you go. So how hype are you, man? I know you've been telling me to play Alan Wake forever, and I still haven't.
I fucking love Alan Wake. It's so good. It's so good. And I think Remedy is one of those developers that makes fantastic games from story and gameplay, and I still don't think they get the credit they deserve. Control sold well for a Remedy game, but it's still not the blockbuster they deserve yet, and I'm really annoyed that Remedy just is not seen in the same light as a lot of these other top tier studios, because I would put them against Guerrilla. I would put them against Naughty Dog. I would put them against a 343 and Bungie. I think they are top tier development talent, and they are talked about as if they're like a B team studio. And I think that Remedy is one of the best game developers out there right now. Let's go to chat real quick. Such Frank wants a Barry Wheeler spinoff. Who cares about the Edge Rider? Barry Wheeler is his agent, who is smart enough to... Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Barry Wheeler here, David.
Yes.
Premise to Alan Wake is you want to stay in the light. That's like the gameplay mechanic, right?
Okay.
So if you had to stay in the light, what would you do?
Get a light.
This motherfucker wraps himself up in Christmas lights and plugs it into a portable generator.
Oh yeah, that'll do.
And he spends the game running around dressed like a Christmas tree. And I'm looking at that going, why is no one else doing this? This man is a genius.
Hey, dude.
And I just never understood why no one else would do it. But yeah.
It's like the one guy who figures out to wear a suit of armor in the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. I am really looking forward to this being true. I do believe this is what's happening because, like I said, it lines up with other grumblings I have heard. Slightly different, but the same beats are there. What I heard exactly was that Remedy was in a bidding war with many other places. Maybe he meant it as like to publish. That's because I didn't ask details on it. Because I know I can only pump that person for so much before they go, I can't talk to you anymore. So, yeah, I believe this is true. I believe that you might even hear about it come E3.
Well, that's very exciting.
Very exciting for it.
Speaking of things that are exciting.
Yeah. This is all you. This is for you. Yeah, this story was put in specifically for you because this is another thing we never talk about on the show.
This isn't what I want, but it's what I'm getting. This story is from Eurogamer, and there is a quote ton of really cool Titanfall content coming into Apex Legends Season 9. Now, normally we don't talk about like just Battle Royale season updates, but I mean, when's the last time I got to talk about Titanfall? Fuck. During a panel at Brown Girl Gamer Code, Apex's senior writer, Ashley Reed, hinted that the studio is working to integrate Titanfall into future updates, as Titanfall is very much a part of the universe. Apex's game creator, Chad Grenier, went a little further, confirming that Apex would host some really cool stuff we might recognize from Respawn's critically acclaimed shooter series. And, quote, next season, Season 9, you're actually going to see a ton of Titanfall coming back into the game in one way or another. I've told some people before, if you're a Titanfall fan, hang on for Season 9 because there's going to be some really cool stuff there. Sadly, neither Grenier nor Reed can be drawn on for further details, but a couple things that I've seen, if you are, lurking around in the Apex forums or anything, there was some like potential rumors or leaks that the new hero is actually going to have an alt that summon a Titan.
That sounds broken.
Well, it's going to be an AI Titan, where it drops in front of you and it shoots in like an arc in front of you, like just specifically in one area,
and then pieces out.
And then it leaves. Yeah, so it wouldn't be a actual summon a full on Titan, but hell, Titanfall 2 is one of the best first-person shooters ever. I don't care what anybody says.
I have heard
desperately love to see a third one, but Apex is so successful that I can't imagine Respawn actually
victim of
their
success.
Yep.
I have heard that this upcoming Season 9, or relatively soon after it, will have battle modes that are not Battle Royale in it.
Oh, fancy.
Which would possibly mean some Titan action.
Yeah, dude, if I can just fight with Titans again, I'll be so happy.
I never played Titanfall 2, and I know that's a crime. I'm told that's one of the greatest single-player campaigns of all time, actually.
Yeah, for the guy that loves to play through the Call of Duty storylines, you should really play Titanfall 2.
But I did play a shit ton of Titanfall 1, which shows how well that game plays, and the fact that I'm the guy that does not play multiplayer only games, and Titanfall 1 was multiplayer only.
Yep.
And I really, really liked Titanfall 1. I think I own Titanfall 2 at this point, too. They've had it on the...
It's been on sale for $5 like so many times.
Not just that, but they've given it away for free. I think I might have it on... I think they gave it away for free on Epic once. I might have it there. I know I have it on PlayStation somewhere because of the...
Yeah, I think they gave it away on like, Origin even at some point, if you ever made a login for Origin.
As an aside, by the way, speaking of stuff that's gone free, this month or next month, it's either this month or next month, Avengers is going to be free on PlayStation Plus. A scant 6 months from release.
You are almost correct.
Okay.
The Marvel's Avengers game is coming to PS Now.
Is that what it is? Okay. That's why I don't have a story of it here,
Sony PlayStation equivalent of Game Pass that has far less games and is a much worse value.
Yeah,
luckily
and you can't
for them,
play
they've got
PlayStation
the
5
killer
versus
app
a PlayStation 4
to line up against Game Pass's Outriders in Marvel's Avengers.
Okay, so it's coming to PlayStation Now. I knew it was something. I didn't have the story here because I didn't think it was that big, but excuse me. As an aside, I just wanted to mention it.
If it was a free PS Plus game, then that actually I think would be bigger news. But I was reading it's coming to PS Now, which is their subscription service.
Thank you for looking that up. David, we got one more news story that I want to get into. This is via GamesIndustry.biz. Brazil launches inquiry to ban loot boxes. The main reason why I bring this up is because I know I've got like 2 or 3 people who come in here from time to time from Brazil, and I think one of them is hanging out in chat. I see you there, King. Good to have you. Brazilian authorities have launched an inquiry aimed at banning loot boxes in the country on the recommendation of a National Association of Child and Adolescent Defense Centers. The association argued that randomized monetization mechanics are a form of gambling, which is illegal in Brazil. I didn't know that gambling was just outright banned in Brazil. Should a ban be approved, Brazil is considering introducing fines for companies selling loot boxes for up to 4 million Brazilian reals. I think their currency is the real. It's around $700,000 American daily. So, if the law passes and if you're a company that sells loot boxes in a game, a $700,000 per day fine. This is yet another thing on the growing list of countries who are pushing back and regulating against loot boxes, saying, "Hey, no, we don't care what you fucking say."
Stop aiming gambling devices at children.
Yeah, we don't care what you say, EA. We don't care what you say, Tencent. The shit's gambling, and we're gonna start fining you for it if you don't knock it off.
Yeah.
Which is one of the that combined with a bunch of other like just negative PR things is one of the reasons why I think you're starting to see more and more companies just disassociate completely with loot boxes because it's just getting too hot to handle. And Brazil is not a small-time country when it comes specifically to certain franchises. The one that I'm thinking of off the top of my head is FIFA.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that is more on the loot box front.
Now we have to wait to see if the companies are going to respond, if they're going to do anything different, or if they're just going to patch those games to remove that feature, but do nothing to actually rebalance the game, so it just becomes a worse video game.
Yeah, that's what they did.
That's the biggest thing. You could say all the arguments you want about the fact that your transactions are optional, you don't need it, but we all know we had a story weeks ago about people paying your employees real life thousands of dollars to get codes to unlock characters in your video game
because
that
it
would
was
give them a
cheaper
competitive
to
advantage.
do it that way.
So, yeah, maybe fix your games.
Yeah,
would be great.
Maybe stop that shit. David, we have one delay because this is the year of delays to report on, and that's Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga has been delayed. It is getting moved out of the spring release with no date given, making the already barren wasteland of video gaming that is going to be happening between now and August even more barren.
Yep. That does suck, but luckily the Lego franchise games are like death. They are inevitable.
Yes. And fun. Also like that.
Not the turn I expected, but
I have not played a bad Lego Star Wars. I have not played a bad Lego game, with the caveat that I have not played a Lego game in like 5 years.
I've also not played a Lego game that went, oh my god, I have to tell everybody to play this game. They are all good.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. As if someone were to give me a copy of a Lego game, I'd be like, oh cool. And I'd pop it in, and I'd play through it, be it Lego Batman, Lego DC, Lego Jurassic Park, Lego Star Wars, and I'll go, that was fun. That was a good waste of a couple hours.
I don't need to go back to it, and I'm probably not going to tell somebody else to play it. But if somebody else got it to free, I'd say, yeah, you should play that. It's great. Or if you have anyone in your home who's under the age of, I don't know, 20, then you could probably play a Lego game.
Such an oddly higher than expected age for a Lego game. I was thinking you were going to say like 10. So you said 20. I know that there's some like weird Arrested Development going on more and more, but goddamn.
I don't know how old kids are anymore.
And anyone 10 years younger than you is a child in diapers.
Basically.
David, this is going to be a really, really just dead year. Everything's getting delayed out until next year or later in fall or who knows when. It's just real bad. So in this time when there's not a single video game for me to play, what can I play to keep myself occupied to get over the time when there's nothing coming out?
No, there you go. Well, I've got a list for you. It's not long, but it is a list, so there you go. First on the list is Oddworld Soulstorm, hitting the PlayStations and PC this week. This is a reimagining, so not a remake, but a reimagining of 98's Oddworld Abe Exodus. So, just like the game that came before, it's a 2.5D side-scrolling platformer. Abe returns in a game to save, his fellow Mudokons, right? Is that what
Modukans?
Modukans?
I think it's Modukan.
You're trying to save all the Mudokons. Save those Mudokons. But this game has a new crafting system. You can customize your weapons. It has a hub arrow. There's new levels. There's new areas. And, obviously it looks a lot better as well. So if you are an Oddworld fan, it might be worth checking out. If you've never played an Oddworld game, then, maybe start with the new one.
I did not know this was going to be a reboot of Abe's Exodus. I thought this was its own. I thought this was finally like the third Abe's whatever game.
That's the interesting thing is when pressed, they say it's not a sequel, but it's not a remake. So it's I don't know. It's the new one.
I would say that falls in that category of the Resident Evil GameCube remake, where it's not a sequel, but it's not a remake because we're going way off the chart with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Final Fantasy VII remake, despite having a remake, then they probably fit in that same category. Or it could be like, I don't know.
See, to me, I think more of when the Need for Speed series stopped adding the numbers, and then they made a new one that was just Need for Speed. It's like, well, you guys made that game 20 years ago, but it's basically the same game. It's just, now.
Yeah, didn't they have like Need for Speed, Not Safe for Work, and Need for Speed Steak or something like that?
I don't think that's the name of any Need for Speed games.
Isn't there like an NSFTW or some shit?
There's Most Wanted.
Most Wanted? Okay.
Which is probably the one you're thinking. There's like Hot Pursuit. There's I don't know. There's lots of them. They've been out for years and years. Anyway, also out this week, Lost Worlds Beyond the Page hits PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Side-scrolling 2D puzzle platformer. An atmospheric narrative adventure written by Rihanna Pratchett. Set between the pages of a diary and a fantasy story where you run on words and use them to interact with the world around you.
Brianna Pratchett, by the way, has done a lot of stuff. She wrote Overlord. She wrote the Tomb Raider games.
Mm-hmm.
So she has some English. She has some game.
This game has like a lot of positive buzz around it from like pre-release builds and stuff. So if you're interested in like a puzzle platformer story-based game, then take a look, because I've heard this one might be pretty good.
I'm told it's highly emotional, by the way. I think she might have put in some, because her when her father died, renowned author Terry Pratchett, when her father died, she kind of pulled back from a lot of stuff, understandably so if you were close with your father. Apparently a lot of this game deals with death and loss, so there could be a lot of that like personality that there's personal experiences put into here. I don't want to speak for her. I don't know if that's what your intended was, but that is what I'm hearing from people who have played this game.
I've heard it's very emotional, so that kind of lines up. Yeah, take a look. Also out this week, Star Wars Republic Commando hits PS4 and Switch. This is an Xbox game from 2005. And much like every other old Star Wars game you can think of, it's being remastered by Aspyr.
Really annoyed they never ever made a follow-up to this, because this game was goddamn amazing when it came out.
Yep. This game is pretty cool. It's set during the Clone Wars, put you in charge of a special ops unit. So there's like these different characters with different special abilities. This new version will not have the original's multiplayer mode, from what I've read, but it will have more modernized controls. So you'll still have, the campaign of Republic Commando to get through and have some times with. And lots of people love this game. Like I said, they're bringing back all those old Star Wars games. Breath Edge is the poorly named open world survival crafting game hitting PS4, Xbox One, and Switch this week. It's been on PC for a minute, and people think it's pretty fun. You're surviving now in space. You've got an immortal chicken with you. You're trying to find the truth between your sudden spaceship crash. You're making tools. You're piloting vehicles. You're making space stations. And I don't know, dude. I like survival building games, especially when they're in space. We know that I have hundreds of hours in Space Engineers, so I'm always interested in this kind of thing. But there you go.
Speaking of survival stuff, how's Valheim doing for you?
Valheim is still fun. I have tapered off quite a bit, but it's still crazy relaxing.
Okay.
So I do still hop on now and again. But what's funny is that's one of the few games where I'll kind of play by myself. Like if I don't really want to be social and I just want to go chop down some trees and make my cabin a little bigger, then I'll play some Valheim.
Is that game in early access, or is it actually launched?
No, it's in early access. Okay, they had their big roadmap come out a couple of weeks ago, I think, and they've got all kinds of stuff in the pipeline for this year.
Okay.
Also out this week, Colony Ship, a post-Earth role-playing game, hits PC. This is a party-based RPG where choices matter.
Really interested in this. I want to take a closer look at it.
This game looks rad. Party-based role-playing game set aboard a generation ship launched to Proxima Centauri. So in this game, your protagonist is playing someone who's on a generation ship who has never seen Earth and will never see where you're going.
Yeah, the concept of generation ship's kind of fucked up in my opinion.
Right? Your life is aboard a starship in its entirety.
Yeah. But then again, how would you know? I mean, you would be told what's going on, but how would you know what life? It would be like telling us, well, you want to go.
Well, there would be no one on the ship who remembers what it was.
Yeah, I'm rambling.
And there's no one on the ship who's ready for where you're going. So very interesting. Anyway, it's got a detailed skill-based character system, multiple ways to handle quests, choice and consequence, and branching dialogue. Like I said, this game looks pretty rad. So
yeah, I need to take a closer look at it.
And Viking Vengeance is last on the list. This is an RPG indie hack and slash. A god-worshipping roguelite dungeon crawler ARPG set in historical fiction world.
Too many genres. Once you say two genres, I start tuning out. And if a game has to front load with that many like buzzwords, I immediately think less of it.
It's just really funny because I feel like now people are starting to add extra words so they can get like tailored specifically to a little box to try and hit on people that have that niche. But you could just say this is an RPG with roguelike.
It strikes me as search engine optimization stretched to ad nauseum.
Right. It's the bottom of a Craigslist post.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That sums it up so perfectly. It's not even funny.
Yuppei is a Templar with pagan origins who rediscovers his roots and learns to wield the powers of the Norse gods in his quest to change the destiny of his people and stop Ragnarok. Despite the kind of ridiculous genre list, this game looks like it's pretty fun hack and slash. I like hack and slash dungeon crawler games, and this looks like it does a decent job. I will say, I don't know how intentional it is, but the voice acting is cheesy as shit. But I'm fairly certain this game is kind of leaning into that from watching the trailers on it. I don't think it's trying to take itself super seriously.
All right,
which
good.
To me, makes it more interesting.
Yeah, it's when it tries to take itself serious and it's shit that's truly a tragedy. But if you want to lean into the camp, if you want to go full John Waters with it, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
David, that looks like it does it for new releases, which means that also does it for the show as well. This has been GamePoints episode 259, and thank you all for showing up. We do stream every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at twitch.tv/GamePoints if you want to join the conversation like so many of you did. But if you can't join us live, I understand. You can also watch old episodes of the show over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC. If you want to support the show, you know what streamers want. Follow us with notifications turned on, likes, bits, subs, all that good stuff. There's a Discord you can join, link provided down below, along with all the articles we use for today's research, which you can go look up on your own. You can follow the show over on Twitter at GamePointsPC, myself, Stephen Brown, at CapitalistPig21, and David there over at Palshife_Satori. Once again, this has been GamePoints. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, stay safe, take care, and we'll be seeing you.